Hey there, we're going to talk about the weather commandments. These underlying weather fundamentals that make weather happen, and they're good to know because they could be things on your regents exam, things in your life. So let's talk about them. All right, number one, sun drives everything. The sun heats up the earth heats up the air, that creates differences in pressure, that makes air rise, that makes air fall. We'll see what happens when air rises and falls, but the sun drives the weather. And did you notice that little speck there is Earth? Crazy little thing there. So the sun's massive. This flare is huge and probably produced some pretty good aurora, the northern lights. So fundamental number two, commandment number two, is that hot air rises. And I'm sure you know that it rises because of density. And obviously this is the house from Up, and Doug's one of the best dogs around. Number three, humid air is less dense. So not only does hot air rise, but humid air does too, and that seems a little bit weird. The reason for that is that humid air, like over the ocean here, the water molecules are lighter than an air molecule, the nitrogen or the oxygen, and so it pushes the heavier things out and replaces it with a lighter water molecule, and then therefore it's less dense. So hot air rises, humid air rises, and when you rise, commandment number four, the temperature cools as you go up, which seems weird because you think hot air rises, we just said that, but it uses its own energy when it rises, and therefore it cools down. That's called adiabatic cooling. You don't need to know that, but um, and it gets the heat back when it comes back down, but when it goes up, it cools off, and that takes us to number five. That all right, the warm air rises and cools off. Warm air holds a lot of water. Cold air, on the vice versa, the opposite, doesn't hold a lot of water. So that's why you get clouds as the air rises, it gets cold. And you know this from having a cold beverage, and the nice warm summer air hits that, cools down, and then it can't hold that water anymore. The cold air can't hold as much water as the warm air can, and it lets go of it. It condenses. We call it air pee. Uh, Commandment number six. Now we're getting into some how weather moves and things like that. So winds always blow from high pressure to low pressure. There's this map in your reference tables that shows high going to low pressure. This map here shows high pressure to low pressure. And high pressure has air that comes down and spreads out, and low pressure, like a hurricane or a tornado, sucks things in. And that's why that's if it's a windy day, you've got a big difference in the pressure. Um, Next, we have the wind going to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. And you can think back to like the elves that shot the story of the elves that shot the missile, and they missed because the Earth moved beneath it, and that curved their missile to the right. But air curves to the right, um, water curves to the right, planes, things like that. So speaking of the curving to the right thing, this makes things spin. So high pressure goes counterclockwise, and you can, or sorry, clockwise, and you can remember this because in the classroom you have to look high, you have to look up high to see the clock, and in a low pressure system like a hurricane or tornado, it spins counterclockwise, and then in a classroom you look low to see the counter, and that's a little trick to help you remember that. That's due to the Coriolis effect. All right, number nine, final one. This kind of ties everything together. Low pressure is a shorter word than high pressure, and low pressure words are all smaller. So low pressure gives you bad weather. The air goes up, it sucks it in, it's wet, and it's hot. And so a way to remember that is warm, wet, low. Gulf of Mexico, Mr. Michel's phrase. And then high pressure is down, out, good, down, out, arid, cool. And a way to remember that is cool, dry, high, Canada sky. And here's a weather map showing you low pressure gives you the bad weather, and high pressure, nice and no precipitation around that. And that just kind of sums things up. So you can check out these websites if you want for current weather conditions. I like this one really. It's check out to see where the pressures are, and then you can see how the wind is blowing, and it's pretty slick. So hope you enjoy.